All right, so let's get started here. And now that we have sold the bonds and figured out the price of the bonds, and we figured out how much we're going to pay for those bonds as the investor, what we want to take care of now is what about this discount or premium, the difference between the face value of the bonds and the principal amount. So for example, our bonds that sold at a premium, right, they sold at 108, 110, and those were the bonds with a coupon rate. The stated rate was still 10%, remember. And remember, we adjust that because it's semi-annual to 5%. And in that case, remember that the effective rate or the market rate was 8% per year. And that created a selling price of $108,000 and $110. And so in this situation, we have a premium because it's $100,000, which is the face value, plus the premium of $81.10, and that premium has to be amortized. And what that premium represents, or in the other case of the discounts, it represents the amount of differential upfront payment needed to equate the cost of debt, with the market rate of interest. So the cost of debt is, how much you actually cost the company to issue debt. It's not the stated rate, it's the cost of debt, because there's no way that if everyone else in the economy is paying 8%, that you would issue debt at 10%. And so what that premium does is increases the amount that you borrow. It lowers your cost of debt down to the market rate of interest. Same case below, when the market rate of interest was 12% and the stated rate was 10%, we sold the bonds at a discount, and we borrowed less money, and that raised up the cost of debt to the market rate of interest. So those premiums and discounts are going to be amortized to interest income over the life of the bond. Now, the key here is a premium results in interest income. Remember, this is what we think about here being less than the cash interest received. So that's an important piece of information, is that the interest income is going to be less than the cash interest received. A discount results in interest income being more than the cash interest received. And there's two methods for amortizing the premium or discount, the effective interest method or the straight line. And we really want to focus on the effective interest method because, what GAAP suggests is that's the best method to use unless there's no material differences. And so we'll talk a little bit about the straight line, but we need to know the effective interest method. All right, so let's kind of walk through this and just see how it looks. Remember, the carrying value of the bonds up front was $108,110, and that was the face value of $100 plus unamortized premium of $8,110. And you remember, in a discount situation, when we issued those bonds at 92,639, remember, it was 92,639, and that was the $100,000 minus the initial discount of 73,61. All right. Now, interest paid or payable, that's going to be the coupon, So remember, our stated interest rate was 5%. That was adjusted 10% divided by semi-annual times $100,000, and that was $5,000. Now, interest income is changing every period. It's going to be the effective interest rate, and remember, I'm just going to work on my premium bonds right now. Remember, the effective interest rate here was 4%. 4% times the initial carrying value of 108,110. And that's going to result, in that first period having interest income equal $4,324. And so the difference between the cash income and the interest income is going to be the amortization of the premium. And that's going to be $676. All right. So when we kind of look at our journal entry there, we're going to have cash, and this is the first date, 6/30/14, right? $5,000. And right, we credit interest income. And the interest income was going to be $43.24. And right, we're going to credit investment in bonds, the asset. Because remember, when I had that investment in bonds account, it starts at 108,110, and right, it has to be working down towards $100,000. So if I was going to hold that to maturity, right, that premium is being amortized away, and so the first month, the first interest date, is $676, leaving me there with a new carrying value. And this is important, right? We have a new carrying value, and that new carrying value is going to be $107,434. Now, the reason that's important is because when I do interest for next period, that's my new carrying value. And right, so for interest for the second period is going to be the 107,434 times the 4%, the effective rate, and my interest income that second date is going to be $42.97. All right, and so right, interest income is going to be decreasing through the period, through the life of the bond, and right, the cash income is going to stay steady at $5,000, but that investment in bonds is going to be decreasing over the life of the bonds, and that means that it's going to be on the balance sheet at amortized cost if it's a held to maturity bond. And then we'll have to make an adjustment if it's trading or available for sale. All right. The other way of doing this is the straight line method. And what we do under this method is we take the total number of interest dates, and we take the total of the discount or premium and divide by the total number of interest dates. And so that's going to give you the amount amortized each period. So let's go back to the example of the original discount. Remember, the bonds sold at $100,000 minus $73.61. They sold for $92,639. And so if we're going to do the straight line method this way, what we would do is we take $73.61, divide by the 10 interest dates, and we would amortize $736 per period. Now, when I look at that journal entry, right, the nice thing about it is that cash is going to be $5,000, and right, my amortization is going to be $736 per period. So investment in bonds. Oops, I'm sorry. Remember, this one was the discount, so I'm going to be increasing at each period. Investment in bonds, $736. And right, I have interest income of $5,736 each period. Now this is going to be the journal entry on 6/30/14 all the way through until we sell the bonds or they mature. And so you can see what's going to happen here. Here's our investment in bonds. And right, the discount one started out at $92,639. And each period, right, I'm going to amortize $736. And eventually, right, it would go to $100,000. So that's the straight line method. You know, the problem with the straight line method is that the firm will not have a constant effective interest rate. And so, right, it's simpler, but it's not going to give you a constant effective interest rate. And that's why the FASB suggests that the effective method is the right method to use. All right, so before we get into the next subject, I'm going to take a break here and then we'll start talking about all these different methods of classifying securities. So I'm going to stop here and then we'll pick up again with the next video.